Hello people! Today we're on to the last Halloween set of the year for me. Okay, and we're going to be recreating these illusion stripe set, sorta kinda. Starting off with a base of white. There will be 2 coats of white. While you're watching me do that, I saw these months ago. Actually, I think it was over the summer. This black and white set, and I thought they looked really cool, and it looked like it wasn't going to be that difficult to deal with. So I thought I'd take a crack at it. Now, I'm not doing all the nails that way. A couple of them are going to be sheet ghosts with like a 3D effect to them, which I've seen a gazillion of this whole season. So I thought I should just do some. Okay, once that's done and cured, we're going to do the second coat. Okay, we're just going to get the second coat on. Hope you guys are having a nice week. It's been pretty boring around here. Guess I don't have a lot to talk about. My husband would be shocked that I don't have anything to say. Okay, we just about got the second coat done. And we're going to cure those. As soon as I'm done playing around here. Okay, in they go. Alright, moving on. We're using the Saviland gel paint. And there's the nail we're recreating. It was done by Mr. Nails. Thank you for the inspo. We're going to start off with getting our lines on here, our main lines, I guess you can call them. Now this is my second go with this thumbnail. I had them on there and I decided they were too thick, so I wiped them all off, and now this is round 2 of this one. But we're just going to put our lines on here in diagonals. I'm connecting them, like where one ends, that's where we start the next one, and then we move off in a different angle. I thought these nails looked pretty cool, and they didn't look like they'd be that hard to recreate, so I had to take a stab at it. I know if you were just looking at that nail set that he did, or just that one nail, but just imagine there was a whole set, you might be intimidated to try to do them because they look like they would be hard. And I know I wouldn't have given them a try a couple years ago. I would have decided I can't do that. But I'm telling you, if you just break things down into steps, a lot of this stuff is not nearly as hard as it looks. Now you do need to have a steady hand for this. I was having a little bit of a shaky hand situation when I was doing this, so some of my lines are not as smooth as I would like them to be. Now I'm doing 4 sections. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. I'm doing 4 lines, but 5 sections of stuff on each of these. It will be the thumbnail. I want to say, well, there's going to be 3 of these. One's the pinky, one's the thumb, and I forget which one the other one's. Maybe the middle finger was the other one. Okay, once we get these base lines on here, then we can cure those. And I am curing along the way on this one set because I was afraid I was going to have to be doing a lot of wiping off, which I didn't have to too bad. This nail, as you can see, I didn't get my white polish all the way down to the side edge. That's a problem when you're painting stuff and you've got all your nails on a rack. If you have longer nails, it's harder to get those side edges nice. That's why I often just take them off and paint them, individually while I'm holding them, then put them back. The shorter nails you can paint easily on the rack, no problem, but the longer ones I tend to have an issue with the sides a bit. But that's going to get covered up as we go, so I wasn't that concerned with it for these. Plus, once again, nobody's going to be wearing these, so it's not as big a deal. If this was somebody's nails that I was actually doing this on, I would have cleaned that up and repainted that. Look, there's the side of this one. It's on one side, has the same thing. See? But that's also going to be covered up, so as I said, it won't be a big deal for this. And one more line. Okay, now we're going to cure those. There's where we are so far. Okay, moving on to this step. Now with this step, I'm going to go section by section, and I'm going to be working between the thumbnail and the middle finger. So we're going to do a section, then we're going to cure it, and then we're going to, as that's curing, we'll go on the other one. Okay, we're going to start our stripes at a 90-degree angle from the line that we just did. Okay, we're going to have a wider one. Now you can make them as wide or as thin as you want. Well, I wouldn't go too wide, obviously, or you won't fit very many on there. And then we're going to have a real skinny one along each side of the wide one. Then we're going to have a gap in between, and then we're going to have that sequence again. Now, my gap in between is a lot closer together than the one from the example there, from the original nail. I tended to get a little bit crazier with them and put more stripy bits on here than he did. You know me, I gotta get carried away with stuff. But we're just gonna paint them on carefully, and like I said, if you're having a shaky hand day like I was, some of my lines came out not quite as smooth as I would have hoped, but I did the best I could. Also, you want to try to keep them uniform, which I know I was not doing in some of these. I tried, but some of them were not quite as uniform as I would like. Also, I'm cleaning my striper brush off after every couple of sections because I was afraid it was starting to like dry on there because it's in the lamp as I'm doing this. Okay, that one went into cure, and now we're going on to the middle finger one. At some point here, this is gonna speed up. I think after I finish the second section on the thumb, I'm going to speed the rest of these up so you won't have to sit through a really long time of me doing the same thing, because you're going to get the gist of it real quick. And there were a couple that I did have to wipe off and redo. I might have edited some of that out. But, some of them where my lines were not the way I wanted them, or they got a little too janky looking, I had to go back and redo. Which isn't that big a deal, which is why we're curing after each little section. So if I do have to wipe off, then I don't ruin any of the stuff I've already done. Because nothing irks me more than having to do stuff twice. It's unnecessary. Okay. even though some of my lines are not the straightest, I was happy that I at least was able to get thin lines on some of them. Okay, that one's going to cure, and we're going to go back to the thumb. Okay, now in the next section, we're going to go again at a 90-degree angle straight up from that line. So, and it's curved. I mean, it's not curved. It's, you know, it's angled. So that's going to be a factor. And also try not to have your dark stripes going under exactly where the other dark stripe was, because it kind of ruins the look that way. I think I had one that was like that. I ended up taking it off and had to redo that one. But when I get these thin lines, I'm just barely touching my brush on there. I'm not putting any pressure on it. I'm just barely dragging it across there. And this is one of them that's coming off because it was too far away from the big stripe. And now we're going to get a cleanup brush and take it off because it wasn't coming off very cleanly for me with that. Alrighty, moving on. Actually, I went back and looked up when it was I saw this and pulled this in. You know, and when I see something I like that I think I might want to recreate, I'll just take a screenshot with my phone. And I went back to look at this one. I pulled this one in May, so just at the end of spring is when I pulled this, when I saw this. So it's been lurking in my phone waiting for Halloween time. And while it's not, my white did not stay quite as bright white by the end of this as I was hoping, but other than that, I think I did a pretty decent job with these. I think they came out really cool. And as you noticed at the beginning of here, I forgot to take the picture of the products I used for this, but I can tell you there was hardly anything. There was the white nail polish, or the gel polish. There's a sheer black, my top coat, the black painting gel, and then the gem glue. That's it. That's all there is to this set. And I managed to get all of my gel products, except for the black gel paint. It's all Model 1s today. I don't know how I managed that one, but doesn't happen often, but every now and again I can get something all of the same brand of stuff. Now you can see some of those lines are not as smooth as I would like. As I said, my hand was a little shaky, plus I was having, the paint was drying on my brush. I had to stop and clean it really well a couple of times. But we got there in the end, and that's all that counts. Alright, after this section is done, as I said, this is going to speed up. So, should be pretty soon here. Okay, there's the second section of the thumb. Now, where am I going here? Oh, we got to fix that end of that one. I really kind of like doing stripes. I can do them a lot better than I used to be able to. I need to start doing that more as a stripy background on stuff for other things to go on top of, maybe. While you're watching me do the rest of these, and it is sped up, believe it or not, next time the plan is to do an alcohol ink background and then have some isolated chrome leaf sprays over the top as a fall set. So that will be the next one that I'll be doing coming down the pike. Now see this one, see how the thick stripe is right under the other thick stripe? It just doesn't look good like that, and I don't think I changed that one. But try to offset them as best as you can. It will look better. Also, I'm not doing it as well as I would like to be doing it, but the skinny lines, they won't look as janky if you do them in one stroke. When you start and stop like that, or you go too slow, that's when stuff starts to get weird looking. So keep that in mind. I don't always have a lot of confidence to do them in one swipe. As you can see, I'm having to go over it. But I'm getting better at it, so hopefully someday it was kind of a fun set to do, though, just for something different. Okay, I think that one's ready for curing, and it was. Now we're back to the other one. Now I started off giving them a full cure every time, and I think partway through I switched to flash curing instead for 30 seconds instead of the full time. The more uniform you can keep these stripes, the cooler it's going to look. Now mine are, like I said, some of my stripes are a little janky looking. And there's where we're covering over that side edge that wasn't fully painted with white. And the pinky nail also is going to have this whole thing, but I did that one off camera, and you're not going to see that one being done. But it's going to be exactly the same as this one, and the other one, and this one. That stripe there started getting fatter and fatter because I messed up the bottom part. I should have just taken that off right from the get-go and started it over, but I didn't. I hate that when that happens. And you start making one side to fix one side, it gets wider and wider. Now, frankly, that little tiny bottom bit, I could have done that at the same time I did this section, because there's not much to it, and I could have easily done it without screwing anything up. But I didn't. I just continued to do section by section. I think I'm going to look up more of these different kind of illusion nails and see what else is out there, because I really had fun doing these. And that stripe is too far apart. Too far apart. I don't like watching myself work on these because I see all these things like, why did you do that like that? Or, you know, what are you doing? And half the time I couldn't tell you. Sometimes I just do things in the spur of the moment. And I don't know why I'm doing them, but that's just how it goes. Sometimes you get happy accidents that way, but more often than not, you just end up with a mess. This is why I like to have a solid plan before I sit down to do a set of nails, because if I'm just winging it as I go, they just never come out looking as nice to me. Alright, there's that one done. Pretty much. Let's just straighten this guy out down here. There we go. Going into cure, and then this one, we're going to finish the last little bit of this. Then we can move on. Alrighty, okay, now we're going to use the Model 1 Sheer Black. I'm just going to put a little dab of that on the palette, and we're going to shadow these right underneath the diagonal lines. Like the diagonal, like that section will be above the other one. So we're having a shadow in there. Now if you don't have sheer black, you can make your own with top coat or base coat and just a little dot of black polish. I was doing that for a long time, and then you know, sometimes when you mix your own, it comes out streaky, and when you're painting it on, you get streaky bits, and I don't like that, so I broke down and got some of the sheer black. I forget what it was. I needed it for something, and so decided to just get it. And frankly, ever since I've had it now, I've been using it regularly for stuff, so I'm getting some good use out of it. Now, as I'm looking at this, as I'm painting it, I was not liking the harsh line from where the shadow ends. So I am going to go back in and soften that up. And I started to try to do it with this as I was going. And I think I got too much gray too far down into there. And I still had a bit of a line that I wasn't liking. So what I'm going to do is get my cleanup brush, which I may come back to that one. I'm not sure. I forget how I did those. No, we're going to put it up there. We're going to take it back down. Nope, we're going to take it back down. Okay, I'm going to use my cleanup brush. It's dry. I don't have alcohol on it. And I'm just going to tap, tap, tap at the line so I don't have that harsh edge. Just tapping it. I'm not brushing it down. Just to soften up that harsh edge of the line, because I didn't like that harsh bit like that. There. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing on this. Now I have sped up this part, this one and the pinky nail. I have spread them up. I sped them up. I can't talk today. I blame it on menopause. Menopause is my go-to blamer for everything these days. Okay, and we're just going to soften those edge lines up again with this. Just tap them. Now, I don't know if this is the way people do this normally. This is the way I did it. If you got a better way, have at it. And secondly, I'm all ears. I'd love to hear it. Okay, that one's done. And we just have the pinky. This one's kind of sloppy. I don't know. I guess I just did this one kind of in a hurry. And in case you're wondering, this is all happening on day 2 of this set, because that's why I don't have gloves on now. I didn't have that much left to go. I just had the pinky nail to do, and then the rest of the shadowing and the ghosts, which was all easy peasy. So I decided not to waste a whole set of gloves for the little bit of time I was going to be working on this. And I managed to do it without slopping it all over myself, so that's always a plus. Alright, those are ready to cure. There's where we are so far. And in they go. Now we're going to work on the ghosts, and I'm going to use my gem glue for this. I'm going to start at the bottom with the blob right in the middle. I'm going to pull it up just a tiny bit with the bottle, and then I'm going to use my striper brush to drag it a skinny line up to about 2/3 of the way up. Leave enough room at the top for the face of the ghost. Okay, this is the other one. The middle finger, or the ring finger. Okay, and now we're going to cure both of those fully. You could just flash them if you want, but I wanted to just give them a full cure. Okay, then we're going to go in one on each side of that. And you want to cure those in between, because if you get them real close together, they'll like hook themselves together and turn into one giant blob. Also, keep your brush wiped off. I had glue drying in my striper brush that I was not happy about. I ended up having to soak it in acetone for a bit to be able to clean it off properly. Okay, then that one's ready, and now we're going in. Those are both been cured. We're going in with a final dot on the side, which we're going to drag up towards that center again, that center point. So we're going to have 5 of these on each ghost nail. Okay, and then we're going to cure those both. One thing I discovered while I was doing this is this gem glue seems to be kind of yellowy. It doesn't look like it at first, but it kind of goes a little yellowy, which I wasn't thrilled about. I do like the bottle with that squeeze tip with the metal tip on the end. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but those are cured all the way, and now we're moving on. We're going to go over them with the same white we started with. Give them one coat of white to cover over those gluey bits. And that is going to give us our wrinkles for the sheet. Now you're going to put your white coat on. Don't go crazy and make it super thick, because A, you're going to have wrinkling issues when it's curing, and B, we don't want to fill in all those lines and detail that we just created with the glue. We just want to make sure everything's covered. And I'm being extra careful to make sure I cover down the sides and everything is thoroughly covered. This one I ended up with a dot in the middle. Right where all those come together, see it there? I had a blob of glue that I didn't notice until it was cured already, and I just didn't feel like cleaning it off. But I could have easily cleaned that dot off with my drill and then painted over it, but I did not do that. Okay, once we're done with this and we're happy, we're going to cure it, which I've done, and now we're going to get the gel paint back out. And I'm going to grab a dotting tool. This just happens to be the one I grabbed. And I'm going to put some eyes on here now. Just some long kind of ovally eyes, and we're also going to do a mouth. They don't have to be perfect, because, I mean, it's a ghost. So, now if you wanted to cutesy it up, you could put some eyelashes on here. You could slap a bow on the top of the head. I don't know, other thing. You could make something in the middle of the nail like it's holding something. But I'm just going with the plain old everyday sheet ghost on here. 2 eyes and a mouth. That's it. He's not getting a nose, nothing. Okay, here's the other one. Okay, I kind of went over part of where that thing was, so his mouth looks a little weird at the bottom, but that's the way it goes. And we're going to cure those. In they go. Now everything's done, and we're on to the final top coat. And when you're top coating the ghosts, don't put a real heavy layer on, because once again, you don't want to fill in all your stuff down there that you did with the glue part. But also make sure you coat it thoroughly. And so we have our set. Looks like you spent a lot of complicated time doing this, and frankly, it's not that difficult. It wasn't that hard, was it? Pretty easy. Give them a try. I think you'll like them. I'm seeing these black and white striped things like this in different colors too. I might visit that again at some point. Might look kind of cool doing the black stripes with isolated chrome of a color. I don't know what though. Over a black set. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. Okay, and we're going to cure those as soon as I'm happy with them. Which obviously I must not be. Something was there. Okay, and they're cured and they're back. And there's the finished set. I think they turned out kind of cool. I like them. If you guys like them, I'd appreciate a like. It helps me out a lot. And I will have a new one for you next Saturday as I upload new tutorials every Saturday. Okay, have a good week, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.